No, so do you think a settlement is possible? Okay, let me put it to you this way. Would a settlement be possible if the Muslims get the title and the Hindus get the right to pray? That has been often, you're shaking your head. So the Hindus will not pray in a site where the Muslims have title. You don't think so? Mahesh Jethmalani, is that a formula that you think can be accepted?
I doubt it, Sagarika. That's an idealistic formula, but in practice it's not going to work.
But Farooq Sheikh, do you think that, work has to be done on both sides of Hindus and Muslims, of each other, convincing each other that, listen, we need a new social contract here, let's not stick to the old stereotypes. Even if the title belongs to the Muslims, Hindus can pray there, and even if Hindus pray there, it doesn't cease to be any less of a masjid. Can these things be done? Is there scope for religious leadership of this kind or not?
There is no religious leadership or political leadership or social leadership in the Muslim community worth talking about. That is a major tragedy, which is why no one person or one party able to speak up for the whole community. But if the Muslims go in with the sentiment that once the Supreme Court decides, even if it decides in our favor, we are willing to accommodate the sentiment of our Hindu brothers and sisters. What is the harm in that?
And what do you mean by accommodate the sentiments? That means let a grand temple be built.
Give them the space and let them build the temple there. There is no problem. After all, there is a non-functional mosque that existed there before 49. They broke it down on 92, but the prayers had stopped there right from 49. So now you can build another mosque outside that space, and you can have a mosque where there are regular prayers being conducted. The purpose of a mosque is to have prayers being conducted. So what is the big deal about this?
So
for the Hindus, it is a very special temple. It is probably the temple for the Hindi-speaking Hindus and the North Indian Hindus, because it is a temple dedicated to Sri Ram. I'm sure the Muslims can find it, but like you pointed out, or like you mentioned, there is no leader worth stature amongst the community of the Muslims who can stand up and say that this is what the community would like to convey. So they speak in various voices.
But there are some Muslims who have even written, just give it up. Chhod dijiye isko. Let's just give it to the Hindus.
Unfortunately, after the Allahabad judgment, in a very odd manner,
that does not resolve the legal issue.
This thing has to go through the grind of the Supreme Court.
What has to go through the grind of the Supreme Court?
Even if they come to that conclusion in the end.
Okay, so without the Supreme Court, sir, we're completely, unfortunately, out of time. Very quickly.
Yes, very quickly. My question is access to Supreme Court is absolutely necessary?
Absolutely necessary.
For the simple reason that the two sides must know where they stand.
And must be aware of the limitations of their rights.
And then,
so both Hindus and Muslims have to be aware that they don't have absolute rights, they have limited rights.
And this mark of majoritarianism, majoritarianism on this judgment, that it is based on faith of one side, is absolutely impossible to accept.
But what's wrong if the Hindu faith is being recognized?
I'm not saying that. If it was an intra-Hindu dispute,
then
yes.
it's fine. Okay,
but
so you can't recognize Hindu faith
dispute,
and not recognize Muslim faith, right? We can actually debate this for another hour, but we're completely out of time. Mr. Hathi, Mahesh Jethmalani, in fact Farooq Sheikh Saab, Syed Shahabuddin Saab, thanks very much indeed for joining us. Hindus and Muslims must both recognize the limitations of their rights. That's the kind of unanimous decision of the panel. What are you telling us? 85% are saying go for an out-of-court settlement. Thanks for watching.